Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Studio, where it's a great pleasure today to have three wonderful guests, where we're picking up on some research we did with Telium around navigating consumer behavior across channels within microseconds. So some very, very big promises there. And best of all, we have some lovely guests to cover that with us in the studio. So on the left are the real people, on the right is our LinkedIn profiles. So let's go through the intros and see who's who. Sean, why don't we start off with you because you're top right. Tell everyone who you are.
Thanks, Ian. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, evening, or morning. My name is Sean. I am a senior solutions consultant at Telium, and in my role, I provide pre-sales and solutions consulting support to our prospects and customers. And during my 3.5 years at Telium, I've had the pleasure to work with a multitude of retail companies and help them to connect data so they can drive true, real-time, and hyper-personalized customer experiences to their customers. So happy to be here today.
Great. Lovely to see you, Sean. Catherine, you've done most of the work today, so I think you should tell everybody a bit about you and then briefly introduce Quick as well to the European audience.
Of course. Hi, everybody. I'm Catherine, and I work as a product owner at Quick AS. We are a kitchen, bath, and wardrobe company in many European countries, and we sell Danish design, which I'm very excited to talk about today, and how we have approached the whole sort of personalized experience of the digital and offline universe as well of Quick.
That's wonderful. And just tell us the countries you operate in, because via the web, we can all see you, but you do have a thriving offline real world to go with the digital.
Yes. So we are in most of the Nordic countries, so Denmark, Sweden, Norway, Finland. We are in Germany, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Spain as well. So present in many of the different countries here in Europe as well.
Great. Well, look, in case anyone in the other countries is looking, you do sell to us, even though you're not physically here. So I should make that clear. Jesper, welcome to you as well. Do tell everybody who you are and your role as well, please.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Jesper, and I'm heading up the digital department here at Quick. So as Katrina mentioned, we do a lot of digital stuff. Among others, we represent the website, our booking flow, where customers can find a spot in every salesperson's calendar and have a good chat around the new dream kitchen they are looking for. We also do a lot on marketing automation, customer data platform, work together with Telium, and a bunch of other digital stuff, all connected into the real world, where we want our salespeople to also use the same data as we can see on the digital side, but also trying to connect with customers in more real-time ways than we usually been able to do. Pleased to be here.
Thank you so much for that. Now, a couple of things are coming out of this, which is around that customer focus, connection, and real time. But let's maybe pull back before we get to that and talk a bit about the business overall, because most people would recognize that kitchens are two things. They are very physical, and you don't buy them every year. And so it strikes me that you're in a very physical world, and yet we're talking about very digital, millisecond level commerce. So maybe just tell me a little bit about the sort of customer interactions you're aspiring to and why, and how that fits into the dynamics of selling, these crafted physical things.
Well, Ian, as with a lot of other stuff going on in the world right now, we see a huge tendency going towards the inspirational journey that the customers are on happen online. They don't necessarily go down to the store to feel and to move around in a kitchen to see how it works. They do a lot of the work prior to that on Instagram, on Pinterest and other media where they seek inspiration. We also talk to friends as we always do, to get some inspiration on what it is that we're looking for. So what is my dream kitchen? I know what I have today, but what is it that I really need and what can fit into my house? So that's where the journey really starts, and that's where we need to be very, very present. So as you say, we don't buy a kitchen every year or every second year. So from our numbers, we can see that it's between every 10 and 13 years. We usually buy a new kitchen, or when we move into a new house, or when we move into a new apartment. So when the customer is in the market for a new kitchen, we really need to be present, and that's where the real-time interaction come into play.
Right, so it's very much about responsiveness to those moments of interest. And so, Catherine, talk to me then about that movement from, we have a website and an email service provider, and we mail everybody every Friday to say, please buy a kitchen. Just talk to me about the way you looked at that transition.
Yeah, so beforehand, I think we kind of restarted. So when we got Telium and our marketing automation system, it's kind of at the same time, and took one big sort of restart of everything, which also enabled us to kind of take a step back and look at how do we implement the foundation first, and then actually work with all the learnings we can get from that. So it's very different. And as I mentioned, we're in quite a lot of different countries, and the approach to buying a kitchen, which is a really big purchase and a lot of money for customers, is really different. So beforehand, everything was kind of standardized and it was very generalized as well. So we didn't sort of take too much into consideration that the customer journey may be very different compared to what country you're in. So in Denmark, it can take 2 weeks to buy a kitchen, but in Belgium, for example, it can take up to 2 years. And we didn't use that very well beforehand, and being able to respond on real-time data actually allows us to be much more personalized and much more relevant in the customer's journey, because it's very different information you want to hear if you're straight up ready to buy, or if you're just investigating and wanting to learn a lot more before actually making that big purchase. So it's just been really important for us to sort of combine the two systems together and get all the learnings and all the data that we can get, and then actually build from there.
So give me an example, just to make it real for me. I've got the idea now of a thoughtful Belgian versus a rapid decision-making Dane. So I've got that, but I'm struggling to think from the behind the website, how can I interpret one page view, one like on a social media post? How do I interpret those signals? That's the first question. And the second question is, what do I actually do differently in order to respond to those?
Yeah. So we do combine a lot of other things together as well. So not just one page view. And that's kind of where Telium comes into the picture, because that enables us to put a lot more parameters together and actually look at what type of customers are we working with, and we can add in all the sort of engagement we get from our marketing automation system, and then combining that in a profile. So we've moved to become a lot more audience focused and saying, well, you fit in this audience, and then we can target communication much more towards you compared to just sending out saying, well, you looked at a page and now we expect you to be interested in a kitchen. It's combining a lot more different parameters and like trying to understand, and of course the customer journey can change always, but it's trying to match up some of the things we see kind of either leads up to a booking or is more towards maybe an inspirational journey you're on. So looking at, are they interested in finding our stores? Are they interested in booking a meeting? Are they diving a lot further down into our designs, our colors and different things? And all these kind of things play into how we try to build the audiences and then try to communicate to them afterwards.
Right. And so when I look at your website, which I should definitely put up now, we see the inspirational setups, etc. There are quite a lot of calls to action here, and a lot of ways of people interacting with you. And they're not all digital. So you've mentioned a few of them. So for my browsing, I could be asking for samples, making an appointment, doing my planning. All of these have a lot of real world workflows behind them. So we're not just talking about things being in the nice, easy digital domain. We're talking about this front end driving some complex business processes. So to what extent have you had to change the way you work or build out the way you work to have this tighter integration of workflow, if you like, with the customer?
I'm not sure it's changed too much yet. For example, in the physical stores, we are sort of on a journey trying to combine the online experience with the offline, and trying to bind them all together by making sure that we actually send more information down to the stores so they have even more information about the customers and can give them a really good experience when they come down. So I'd say it's definitely a work in progress where we try to combine the two. And try also with Telium to sort of be the place where we put all the data in we can get. And at Quick, we've had some pretty big IT changes. And it's just making sure that all of them talk together. And then we get a really good sort of database that we can work from.
Great. So now let's maybe just ask you, I want to put you on the spot and talk about the KPIs and the return on investment. So let's say a Gen Z person logs onto the website and they'll say, this is totally sensible. Don't all companies have centralized data hub with everything coming in and out properly? So there's no understanding that what we've been talking about for years is actually relatively difficult to deliver. So when you sit back and you have, Friday afternoon relaxation, how are you assessing this? So what's been the ROI of the project for you, and how is that measured? So you measure it just in terms of sales, in terms of customer approval. How do we know that these steps you're taking of improvement are the ones that you're happy with?
Maybe you can answer that one, yes, but I think this is more.
This is where everyone sees all eyes turn towards Jesper.
Yes.
Yeah, that's quite all right. So, as Katrine mentioned, this is really a journey both for the stores, but also for us in the digital team and for the rest of the marketing organization. So we really need to learn how to work with this. How do we execute on all the data that we have available now? So it's not just adding a new black box to the tech stack and then pushing play and then everything works as a charm. I know that sometimes that's the way we present it when we talk about it, but there's a lot of work going on in the back office and in the team to make this work. So we continuously test. So now we have some new data that we can work with. Now we know that this audience of customers are really interested in white kitchens or oak wood kitchens. Then how do we communicate with them? How do we advertise towards them in the best possible way so they know that we're here, we're top of mind whenever they are in the market for a new kitchen? And how do we then get them both onto the website where they can browse around and get even more inspiration? But best of all, how do we get them down to the stores where they have a chat with the kitchen experts in the stores? They can book a meeting, yes, but we really want to know more about them. And that's what we're trying to learn right now. So we are like in the old days where when you walked into a store, the guy behind the desk, he would know what it is that you're looking for and he would know you by name. That's what we're going for. So that one-to-one communication with the customers. And we have a lot of customers. We sell a lot of kitchens. So it's a lot of people that we need to get in close relation with. And that's where the data really helps us. And that's also where a platform like Telium helps us to organize and structure around that. So I cannot give you an ROI number right now. We've done some tests that elevated the number of bookings by almost 200% and lowered the cost per acquisition. So the cost per customer that we got down to a store through our booking flow by almost 100%. So it's really just test and learn and seeing how do we communicate in the best possible way and create a relation with our customers. So not being as number focused right now, but more on the relational part.
Very interesting. I think that whole point about seeing where the drivers are, and the number of appointments and so on, that's really important. But we've been talking about kitchens because I had kitchens on my mind, but you also sell bathrooms and wardrobes and so on. So to what extent do you find that consumers who start their journey with the kitchen can't stop themselves, and before you know it, have fitted out their bathrooms, bedrooms, and storage as well? Is that an emergent behavior, or one where being more real time has helped?
We don't really have any numbers on that, Ian. I think that for most part, it's something that we see in the stores. So if when they have a talk with our kitchen experts or the experts that we have in store, then they see the opportunity for combining a kitchen with the same design in the bathroom or in the wardrobe or in the hall or wherever they might see this fit. So it's really a matter of when they see it in the physical world, and that's where we're really dependent on having really great colleagues in the stores that know how they can combine this, because that's still difficult for us to create that kind of combination and look and feel, and how would this look like in my home, because that's difficult to see just by looking at the website.
Great. Okay, well, that's really useful. So before we ask Sean to give us a broader perspective on this, one of the things that people always ask is, you go through all of the planning and you get the business case sign off, you do the work, and there's always something that surprises you, that's a lovely thing, but you hadn't planned for it. So maybe I could just ask Catherine, if you want to share with us that, as you've been implementing these tools, what's been the area that has worked exactly as you planned? You thought about it, it's worked, job done. And where have you found a nice surprise of maybe some emergent behavior you hadn't planned for, but has become a benefit of this, close integration and speed?
I think the whole part about transparency for our customers has become a really good thing. It's, as you say, when you buy a kitchen, it's a very big process, it's a very long process, and it's very expensive. So a lot of uncertainty throughout that sort of time. So that was the whole idea, that we also wanted to create more transparency towards the customers. And doing that by having the data to then actually plan out what we should do when. But I think in general, the really good thing and the good experience with it is that we kind of started from the bottom, started right from the start, building a lot of foundational things, and then just got to learn. And that made it easier to sort of move into the use cases that then either some of the things we had from the beginning said that's what we want to do. And we wanted, for example, to work a lot more with audiences. We have a lot of people we know with a permission and such, but we also have a lot of people going to our website that we don't know, but we want to make sure that they still have a good experience with us. And that's been really one of the really good cases, because then using Telium has enabled us to do better sort of retargeting and making sure that we give just a tiny bit better experience. So if you look at the Evento kitchen or one of our other kitchens, then that's what you're going to be presented with as well. So that was the thing that worked out really well and gave some really good numbers. But it's just also enabled us to work even more with it, because it kind of gave us an idea of how to work with the different things we set up right from the start, and then go back and look at them and see, is there anything here I didn't expect that I can then use to build a use case on, and then test and see how it goes. So I think that's been the most important thing for us, is just to go into it boldly and be willing to do a lot of tests and a lot of learning. And then some of it works out really well. Some of the things you can't say, well, now we know.
Now we know.
Yes.
This sounds a very open, collaborative, and responsive approach, which for people who've been through IT deployments, those aren't words you normally use. So it sounds like the system, once deployed, allows you to be very flexible and iterative. Am I putting words into your mouth, or is that one of the things you found?
No, that's true. But it is important to say it took some time learning, and it is big system, a big way, sort of a change you have to make in your everyday work. So it took some time to get to know it, and you will have ups and downs for it. There will be things that didn't work out the way you expected them to, and then you just kind of have to maybe think a bit more creatively and try to figure another way around to get the outcome that you are looking for. But I think it's been very open in the way we approached it, and people have been very open-minded towards it. But it's a lot of learning and a lot of things that needed to get in place before we really saw it begin to take off. So,
and in the conversations we'd had, both Catherine with you and Jesper, I was struck by the impact of the changes across the business. So it's not just something that's inside IT or inside marketing. It has very much affected the stores and colleagues and so on. So could you just reflect on how you have brought your colleagues into the system? So to what extent they have worked with you or they're benefiting from the new insights you're generating? Yes, but maybe you can pick that up.
At least I can start. I think just to touch on the last question you had, I think one of the better decisions we made was to not make this an IT project. I simply say that we own this after we are done implementing it. We are the ones that are using it. We are the ones that work with it on a daily basis. So we need to get our hands dirty. We need to know how the engine room works. Not saying that we became IT minded, but just having that different approach, I think helped us a lot, and also made us not rely as much on IT, because they're also almost always busy with other stuff, right? And that's not necessarily marketing related or prioritized. So I think that was a pretty good start for us. And then I'll say that again, it's important for us to get our salespeople on board here, giving them more knowledge on what it is the customers are looking for. How can they start the talk or the relation with the customers once they go down to the store on a higher level than just knowing that, okay, now they come down to the store, they need to buy a new kitchen. Where should we start? Do we talk colors? Do we talk worktops? Do we talk appliances? What is it that we need to discuss here? What are their needs and wishes? What's the budget? How does that look like? So all of that data we can now start supplying to them through our both Telium, but also our marketing automation platform. I know Katrine can talk a lot more about that on how it works and also how we've been working with it.
Katrina, he's sort of put you back in the spotlight.
Yes. Yeah, I think it's, as Jesper says, it's really important because our stores and the salespersons out there, they're the ones actually talking directly to the customers. So they have so much knowledge as well. So it's been important also just to get input from their side, because there are things that we in digital might be very online focused, and they will have an offline point of view that's really important to incorporate in it. So it's not just something we can succeed with on our own in our digital marketing department. It's something where we do need different point of views to play into, and then they might not be in configuring things or setting things up, but they're part of sort of building maybe some of the foundation for the use cases that we can then do to give them even better information and data, and then also help our customers get a really good experience. So it's definitely taking a lot of work to get all that in, and it's something that's very dynamic. So we always sort of evolve and change and implement new things and test new things. So we try to bring it in and then build use cases and then try. One of the really big things, as Jesper mentioned, is getting more information from our customers on what they're interested in, if they have any wishes, and that's some of the things we're working on implementing. We have a customer platform on our website that they can log into and then have more sort of self-service kind of functions. But from there as well, it's a really good point where we can pick up data that they can then go down to the stores and then also give the customers a bit more sort of possibility to do things themselves, and then also provide a bit more information.
Great. I mean, you guys are such a dream in terms of talking about the things that we all aspire to but don't always make. I mean, Sean, you've covered off many clients, many sectors, and obviously we're not going to name names, but the things I'm picking up on here are, the consultative, iterative approach, a positive approach to learning lessons, a real listening culture to involve colleagues. It sounds incredible. When you reflect on it, Sean, what are the things that you think that Quick have done well that has set them up for success?
So to start with, I think just in line with what both Catherine and Jesper have mentioned before, is the approach to this iterative approach towards testing specific use cases and testing those across a bigger team of stakeholders within the company. I think that is always important, because when we work with other clients, we typically talk to different functions within the customer as well. Like, we speak with IT, we speak with data teams, we speak with the marketing teams, and the teams that are actually running the campaigns, for example. And all of these teams, they might have different KPIs, they might have different preferences and different interests regarding the use of this technology, which in this case is Telium. And I think combining these worlds and getting everybody involved during the implementation, and get those stakeholders aligned on the ultimate goal and the vision and the objective of what it is that you're trying to do. Those are some of the key elements for success. And they also make sure that you get the entire organization aligned to work towards this goal as well.
Fascinating. And if we maybe just step away and start thinking about people on the webinar who are thinking, this is so good, I need to start doing this myself. So we know one prerequisite is obviously buy the right software and system. The second prerequisite is have great people like Jesper and Katrina in your team. So we put those to one side. But if you were suggesting to somebody who said, here's the software, here's the team, what do you think are the things they should be planning in their minds now before implementation that will allow the business to orient itself for success? So, one of the first things that you typically do when you go down a personalization route is you realize that you need 50 times more collateral than you previously had. So given that that's a very obvious one, if we're moving into this real-time responsive world, what would be your top tip, as if you're saying to a friend before they started, make sure you do X? Sean, why don't you kick us off? And then Jesper, Katrina, your top tip to make sure that the whole thing flies. Sean, no pressure.
Thanks, Ian. So I guess, for us, we always try to start with either a key challenge or a business objective. So instead of going in and saying, it's like, oh, we need all of this data, or we need to target these kind of personas, or we need to build these audiences, fundamentally, it's all about, an objective or a challenge that you're trying to solve. So that is my tip. My biggest tip is that when you embark on such a process, is start with the end goal, start with the challenge or the objective, and then work your way down into the specifics of the implementation or the use case. So things like, do we have the right data? Things like, what kind of profile attributes or traits or characteristics do we need to set up? Who do we need to target, and what channels do we need to use? That is a natural flow within this process. And by keeping an eye on the end objectives, you also make sure that there's always this accountability, but also it allows you to then always come back to this objective or KPI and say, have we achieved what we were trying to achieve? Yeah, that's fundamentally my biggest tip.
Well, I could see Jesper and Katrina nodding. So let's just jump to Jesper in that case. Jesper, what would your top tip be to a friend about to embark on this?
Oh, I completely agree with Sean. So begin with the end in mind and figure out what does success look like? What is it that we want to achieve, and connect that into the business. But if I should take it a step back, you really need to find the right people. So you need to hire someone in that has the right attitude, the right motivation for working with this, really making this a success. So it's really down to finding the right people to hire into the team. So where do you want to be in 2 or 3 years? Then hire someone that can actually take you there.
And when you say the right attitude and aptitude, I totally agree with that. But let's say we're putting an advert out to say this is the kind of person we need. In which area are the skills? Obviously patience, good humor, numeracy. Where would you focus that person? What are the skills that make the difference in these roles?
Well, normally I'm not as skill focused when I hire in people. I'm more going towards the attitude, because you can always learn the different platforms, the different systems, but you really need someone that is willing to, but also capable of actually doing the test and learn approach. So being constantly curious, how can we do things better? How do we make the system work for the business and not the other way around? So really finding someone that can that have that kind of attitude and have that kind of spirit or mindset is crucial, in my opinion, to succeed with this. Because if you have someone that knows the system but just wants to be in here for the job, then it's not going to work.
Wonderful. Well, speaking of that wonderful attitude, let's just jump over to Katrina, who can now give us her view, having been through this so far. What would be the tip, either to a friend or to someone embarking on it?
I think it's really important to have the buy-in from the organization and the team as well. It's not a one-man job that can do this. You do need different people playing in. So you might need one person that can sort of be the main driver of it, but you do need other people buying into it as well and having the time set aside for it, because it is time consuming implementing it, but it's a good thing that you can collaborate on, and maybe more sort of practical for the person that's going to be in the system working. It's just getting the foundation right, get that right, and then it's just becomes so much easier to work with down the line. And it may also just show some things that are really interesting to then dive into and build further upon.
Great. Well, listen, what I'm loving about this is very much this attitude of connecting the customer, the business opportunity, and this real enthusiasm, and it really comes over. And in fact, this was one of the fun things about the blue paper we did very recently. So I've put that up on screen in case you've come to this webinar not having already read it. For the youth focused amongst us, there's a QR code if you think I must get it this very second, but fear not, everybody else, in the follow-up email, there will be a link to download this, so you can very much have a look at the context as well as the case study around real time. I think you'll understand now why, having spoken with Crick as part of the case study, we were so keen to get them in real life onto the webinar. So before we wrap up, we've been on a journey. We've had the right things put in place. We've iterated, learned, grown. We reached today. As we close the webinar, it's just worth, I think, sharing with everyone what next. So, you're obviously going to get straight back to your keyboards and keep developing the system. So just tell me, what are the next projects on your mind on this journey? So maybe Jesper, if you kick us off, then Katrina, and then Sean, if maybe you can just wrap up with what's the next thing that we should be thinking about, even as we try and catch up with Crick. So Jesper, what's next in the journey?
Well, still executing on the different use cases we have. So keep on exploring, keep on learning, and testing new use cases. So we have a whole lineup and a whole roadmap of stuff that we want to do with Telium involved. So we just need to get down to business and executing on it.
I love it when someone says we have a whole roadmap, but they say it with a smile. So that's obviously a good sign. Katrina, what's next for you? That's the next exciting step.
So we have a lot of really cool use cases, but the one I'm really looking forward to is working with our customer login platform on the website, and then making sure that that is very nicely tied into our customer data platform. I think it will open up a massive range of different use cases we can work with, and a lot of really cool things that we can do to give our customers a really cool customer journey with us, and a cool sort of visit both online and in our stores as well.
Wonderful. Sean, I'm sure that all of your clients are just as lovely and enthusiastic as Quick. So what are you saying to your community of clients? What's coming next? What's the exciting thing on the horizon for you?
Yeah, I think the biggest topic is the use of AI and ML within the existing use cases that you're driving. So it's fundamentally using data, which is already part of the foundation with Tedium, is that having that ability to have consented, filtered, enriched data and use that to drive potential AI models with a specific output in mind, like a really personalized recommendation or the best next action. So we want to be able to not only provide those systems and those AI models with the right data, so we get those outputs, but what we also want is for our companies to then be able to activate in the moment, in real time, and use those outputs for whatever personalization or use case that they're driving. So that is what we are moving towards, is even more than we already were, is really to drive those in the moment, one-to-one hyper-personalized experiences for all the customers of our customers.
Wonderful. Well, look, we made it nearly to the end before we said AI. So I think that's one of my KPIs ticked off as well. Guys, thank you so much for joining us in the studio today. Takeaway for me is that even as our systems become more responsive, even at the millisecond and quicker level, it is the people behind that customer-focused, working together, that can really make the most of it. So massive thank you, Sean, for joining us. Katrina, Jesper, it's been great learning more about your business. And for anybody, as I said, who wants to get their hands on the case studies, do check out the report. As I said, we'll send it to you. But for now, it's thank you for spending some of your time with us. And from me, Sean, Jesper, and Katrina, it's goodbye from the studio and wishing you happy trading.